There is a kind of strength that speaks without shouting, a presence so grounded that it unsettles anyone who tries to shake it. When a woman reaches the point where she no longer reacts to every word, every look, every attempt to provoke, she steps into a power that cannot be faked. It's the silent strength that unsettles a man's ego, because deep down he realizes that influence over you is no longer guaranteed. Most people are used to seeing their actions trigger a predictable response. They get loud, you get louder, they pull away, you chase. They criticize, you defend yourself. But when those patterns break, when you don't play the emotional game, it forces them to stop and look in the mirror. A woman who doesn't flinch is not a woman without feeling. She feels deeply. She notices every slight, every shift in tone, every subtle change in energy. But she has learned the priceless art of controlling her own emotional current. She knows that giving an instant reaction is giving away her power, and she's no longer willing to hand it over so easily. This kind of stillness in the face of provocation is not weakness, it's a form of quiet dominance. It's telling the world, I am not yours to disturb. When a man who is used to seeing emotional responses suddenly gets met with calm, he becomes unsettled. His ego has been fed by the idea that he can pull your strings at will, that your happiness, your peace, and your sense of worth are tied to him in some way. But when you stand there, unmoved, it sends a clear message. His power over you is an illusion. And that realization can be uncomfortable for him because it forces him to see that your world doesn't rise and fall based on his presence or his approval. This quiet strength changes the entire energy of the relationship. It removes the drama he may have relied on for validation. When you don't react, you don't feed the fire. The arguments fizzle out before they can begin. The cycles of emotional push and pull lose their force. And while at first he may try harder to get a reaction, eventually he learns that your peace is not for sale. That's when the respect begins to grow. Men, especially those who lean on control or manipulation, are often unprepared for a woman who operates from emotional steadiness. They may call it coldness or distance, but in reality, it's self-respect in action. You're not shutting down, you're standing tall. You're showing that your center of gravity is internal, not dependent on outside approval or attention. This makes you infinitely harder to rattle because you're no longer playing on the same emotional field where he once had the advantage. The truth is, a woman who doesn't flinch becomes unforgettable. She leaves a mark, not by what she says or does in reaction to his behavior, but by what she refuses to give energy to. She turns her silence into a mirror that forces him to confront himself. And that is a rare and powerful gift, one that not every man will be ready for, but one that will always shift the balance of power in your favor. Because at the end of the day, real strength is not found in how loudly you can respond, but in how gracefully you can hold your ground. And when a man sees that his words, his moods, and his actions cannot shake you, that's when he realizes he's dealing with a woman who cannot be broken. There is a moment in a woman's life when she understands that her energy is sacred and not everyone deserves access to it. This is when she stops pouring herself into situations that drain her, stops engaging in battles that aren't worth fighting, and stops explaining herself to people committed to misunderstanding her. That shift is where her emotional control begins to take root, not as a way to suppress her feelings, but as a way to protect her peace. When a man sees that she is no longer available for endless debates, unnecessary drama, or emotional games, it forces him to reassess how he approaches her. A man who thrives on reactions quickly realizes that without them, his usual methods of gaining the upper hand no longer work. The sighs, the tears, the raised voice, these things used to be signs that he could still reach her emotionally. But now, there's a calmness in her demeanor that isn't easily shaken. It's not indifference, it's intentional detachment from anything that would cost her too much emotionally. That self-control becomes a kind of armor, not to shut love out, but to ensure that love is not confused with chaos. This transformation isn't about pretending nothing bothers her. It's about mastering the art of choosing when and how to respond, if at all. She's learned that not everything requires her immediate energy, and that silence can sometimes communicate more than words ever could. When she walks away from an argument instead of diving into it, she's sending a message that her peace matters more than proving a point. When she doesn't retaliate after being provoked, she's showing that she values her dignity over the satisfaction of winning a temporary battle. Men notice this. Some respect it instantly, recognizing that this kind of emotional steadiness is rare. Others struggle with it because it challenges their idea of control. A man who has grown accustomed to using emotional triggers to keep a woman off balance will feel an uncomfortable shift when those triggers no longer work. That discomfort is his own to wrestle with. And it often leads to deeper self-reflection because her calmness forces him to examine his own behavior. Her refusal to flinch or to feed into unnecessary conflict creates a dynamic where he must meet her in a place of emotional maturity, or else he risks being left behind. She's not interested in teaching a grown man how to respect her boundaries. Her boundaries are already in place, and it's his choice whether to honor them. By removing herself from toxic exchanges, she's not playing hard to get, she's being clear about what she will and will not allow in her space. What he once saw as emotional withdrawal is, in truth, emotional clarity. She knows exactly what she's doing and why she's doing it. She's not waiting for him to change before she feels at peace. She's not hoping for a better reaction before she finds her happiness. Her life continues with or without his cooperation, and that self-sufficiency is what makes her presence so powerful. In the end, the man who encounters this kind of emotional control learns that she cannot be manipulated through guilt, anger, or fear. She's not avoiding connection, she's avoiding destruction. And when he realizes that her peace is not a bargaining chip but a permanent condition, it changes the way he sees her forever. There is a profound power in choosing not to engage in chaos, especially when that chaos is designed to provoke, confuse, or destabilize you. A woman who refuses to enter emotional battles stands apart because she refuses to be controlled by reaction. She understands that not every argument needs a response, not every accusation requires a defense, and not every provocation deserves a flinch. This refusal to engage is not about shutting down or being cold. It's a conscious choice to preserve her peace and protect her energy. It sends a clear message that she is no longer available to the drama that once might have consumed her. When a man tries to pull her into emotional conflict, his usual tactics fall flat because she is steady, unmoved, and centered. He may escalate, test boundaries, or attempt to provoke a reaction, but her calm presence is like a shield that blocks every attempt. This makes him realize that the control he thought he had over her was never really there. The power dynamics shift when she refuses to play the game, and that shift often unsettles him more than any argument could. This is not to say that she is passive. On the contrary, choosing not to engage in chaos is one of the most active, deliberate forms of emotional control. It requires strength to remain composed when others are trying to rile you up. It demands a high level of self-awareness to recognize when a situation is toxic and wisdom to walk away rather than fight. Her refusal to enter into needless conflict demonstrates her deep respect for herself and her boundaries. By not engaging in emotional battles, she protects herself from the drain of constant drama. She keeps her mental and emotional resources for what truly matters: her growth, her goals, and her happiness. She refuses to waste energy on someone who thrives on chaos because she understands that her peace is priceless and not worth the cost of a fight. This mindset naturally causes him to reconsider his approach because the usual ways he sought to dominate or control are no longer effective. Her calm refusal to engage is also a mirror reflecting back his own behavior. It forces him to see the futility of his provocations and the immaturity behind his attempts to stir conflict. When she stays composed and refuses to react, she holds up a standard that calls him to rise to a higher level or risk losing her completely. This dynamic is transformative, as it challenges him to confront himself rather than manipulate her emotions. At first, he may try harder to get a rise out of her, but over time, he will realize that the woman who doesn't flinch is not someone to be toyed with. She's someone who values herself too much to be pulled into unhealthy emotional warfare. This realization can lead to respect, or at the very least, a begrudging acknowledgement of her strength. Ultimately, not entering the chaos changes the entire rhythm of their interaction. It stops the endless cycle of emotional push and pull, creating space for clarity and genuine connection. It proves that emotional control isn't about suppression. It's about choosing where to direct your energy and refusing to let someone else dictate your inner world. And when a man finally sees that he cannot break her by stirring up storms, he understands that she is a force to be reckoned with, steady, self-assured, and unbreakable. There's a unique kind of power in the ability to walk away without hesitation, in knowing your worth so deeply that you don't cling to what no longer serves you. When a woman holds the mystery of being able to disappear without looking back, it creates an undeniable impact on a man. It's not about playing games or trying to be elusive for the sake of it. It's about standing in your truth and having the courage to remove yourself from a situation where your value is questioned or your peace is compromised. This willingness to leave is a signal that you are not dependent on his presence to define your happiness, and that truth is often the most painful thing for him to face. Men are wired in many ways to pursue what feels just out of reach. When a woman shows she can simply walk away, no drama, no explanations, no desperate attempts to hold on, it flips the script entirely. He begins to realize that she is not a safety net to fall back on. She's a force that moves with intention and grace, and her absence leaves a space he can't easily fill. This knowledge unsettles him because it challenges the old patterns of control and possession. When she disappears instead of waiting, she breaks the cycle of dependence and turns the chase into something real and meaningful, not just routine. This mystery of detachment is not about being cold or indifferent. It's about emotional sovereignty, choosing when to stay and when to go based on what aligns with your self respect and growth. It's a quiet but fierce declaration that you won't wait around hoping for change or commitment. Instead, you honor yourself enough to walk away, trusting that if it's meant to be, it will find its way back on different terms. This kind of power puts him on notice that you are not an option. You are a priority, but only if he treats you as such. The ability to disappear creates a magnetic pull because it taps into his deeper fears and desires. He fears losing something precious that he took for granted, and he desires the woman who knows her worth and refuses to settle. This magnetic tension shifts the relationship from one where he may have taken control to one where he must earn it through respect, care, and genuine effort. It forces him to ask himself what he truly wants and whether he is willing to step up or lose something valuable forever. When a woman knows she can walk away, she refuses to settle for less than she deserves. That refusal is empowering, not just for her, but for the man who witnesses it. It challenges him to rise to the occasion or step aside, clearing the way for relationships built on mutual respect rather than neediness or manipulation. It sends a powerful message that love and connection thrive in freedom, not captivity. This kind of emotional autonomy transforms the way he views the relationship and ultimately himself. He sees that she is not defined by his presence or absence, but by her own strength and integrity. And in recognizing this, he is often inspired to become a better version of himself if he wants to be part of her life. At the end of the day, the mystery of a woman who can walk away without hesitation is a testament to her deep self-love and inner power. It shifts the dynamic from control to choice, from possession to partnership, and from fear to respect. And that is a change that no man can ignore or take lightly. There is a subtle but profound shift that happens when a woman stops trying to fix or control the feelings of the man she cares about. Instead of chasing after his emotions, trying to coax him into showing love or attention, she steps back and allows space for his feelings to develop naturally. This surrender to the flow of emotions is not about giving up or being indifferent. It's about trusting the process and recognizing that true connection can't be forced. When a man senses that a woman is not desperately trying to manipulate or manage his emotions, something changes deep within him. Men often respond to authenticity and freedom rather than pressure. When a woman stops pushing for validation, approval, or affection, she creates an environment where his feelings can breathe. This space allows him to experience his emotions more fully without the added weight of expectation. The absence of pressure can ironically bring him closer because it removes the burden of performance and allows the relationship to unfold on its own terms. By letting go of the need to control how he feels, she is demonstrating a profound confidence in herself and in the relationship. She knows that her worth is not tied to his constant affirmation and that emotional connection grows best in an atmosphere of mutual respect and patience. This attitude invites him to step into his feelings honestly and without fear of judgment or demand. When a man realizes that she isn't clinging to his every mood or trying to fix what isn't broken, he often begins to appreciate her presence more deeply. He understands that her love is not conditional on his daily validation, but is grounded in something stronger, her self-respect and emotional maturity. This realization can shift his perspective from taking her for granted to valuing her as a partner who is whole and secure on her own. Furthermore, when she lets go of controlling his emotions, she frees herself from unnecessary stress and emotional turmoil. She stops living in a constant state of anxiety, waiting for signs or proof of his feelings. This freedom rejuvenates her spirit and gives the relationship a fresh start, as it's no longer weighed down by desperation or neediness. This kind of emotional detachment is not coldness. It's clarity. It's the understanding that true love is not about ownership or control, but about allowing both people to be their authentic selves. When she holds this space, she invites him to meet her there with openness and honesty. Ultimately, by releasing the need to manage his feelings, she sets the stage for a deeper, more genuine connection, one built on trust, respect, and freedom. This shift often encourages him to step up emotionally, not because he is being forced, but because he feels safe and inspired to do so. And when a man senses this kind of unwavering emotional stability, he is more likely to commit fully and cherish the woman who lets him feel without pressure or expectation. There is an undeniable power in a woman's ability to remain calm and collected when faced with emotional turbulence. When she refuses to react impulsively or be pulled into drama, it sends a clear message that she is in control of herself, and nothing outside of her can shake her inner balance. This is not about being cold or uncaring. It's about understanding that emotional stability is the greatest form of strength she can carry into any interaction, especially with a man who might be expecting her to break, beg, or lose control. Men often test boundaries, sometimes consciously, sometimes without realizing it, to see how much influence they have over a woman's emotions. But when she stands firm, unshaken by mood swings, distance, or attempts to provoke her, he begins to realize that she is not easily swayed. This realization can be both humbling and intriguing for him because it forces him to confront the fact that her peace is self-created, not dependent on his behavior. This level of composure speaks volumes about her self-worth. It shows that she knows who she is, what she deserves, and that she will not allow anyone to disturb her sense of self. A woman who holds this kind of power isn't just attractive, she is unforgettable. Her energy commands respect because it's clear. She will not settle for a relationship that thrives on chaos or emotional games. When she refuses to flinch, she removes his ability to control her through emotional highs and lows. Instead of responding with desperate words or actions, she responds with quiet strength, which is often far more impactful. This calm energy forces him to see her in a different light, not as someone he can push to her limits, but as someone who stands firm in her own truth, no matter the circumstances. And this is where a profound shift happens in his mind. A man who thought he could provoke or unsettle her finds himself respecting her more, even if he doesn't admit it out loud. Her lack of reaction doesn't mean she doesn't feel, it means she chooses not to give away her power. This subtle yet powerful choice often leaves him reflecting on his own behavior, questioning why she doesn't respond the way others might. By holding her ground and refusing to flinch, she also creates space for him to take responsibility for his own actions. Without the emotional push and pull to distract him, he is left to face himself and his choices directly. This can lead to growth, deeper understanding, and sometimes a shift in how he treats her moving forward. The beauty of this strength is that it's quiet, not loud. It doesn't require shouting, arguing, or dramatic displays. It's in the stillness of her presence, the measured tone of her voice, and the way she carries herself with dignity, even in the midst of conflict. That kind of composure is rare, and men know it. In the end, when she refuses to flinch, she not only protects her emotional well being, but also elevates the entire dynamic of the relationship. She sets the tone for mutual respect, self control, and deeper connection, showing him that her value lies not in how much she reacts, but in how much she chooses peace over chaos. And when a woman chooses peace, everything changes.